Happy birthday to the leader of the Democratic Party, Maxine Waters. Yes, President Trump just tweeted that. We have all seen how the crazed congresswoman from the loony state of California has acted since President Trump beat her good friend Hillary Clinton in the presidential elections, from calling for President Trump's impeachment for no valid reason, to even going as far as calling for people to violently harass anyone who is involved with the president's administration. A few months ago, she even told a group of her supporters in California that they need to start showing up wherever Trump's administration officials show up themselves, even though she can't feed or clothe or house her own constituents in the district that she doesn't even live in, that she obviously represents. And if they see anybody from the cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, or in a gasoline station to get out and create a crowd in order to push them back, what? So anyway, for Maxine Waters' 80th birthday, it was reported that in a typical President Trump fashion, he struck back in the best way he knows how. He tweeted what I just told you earlier, happy birthday to the leader of the Democratic Party, Maxine Waters, since they don't have any other leaders. Of course, here's a most interesting fact, a good one that you may not know about. Auntie Maxine, as the foolish voters in her district call her, in the midst of a national financial catastrophe back in 2008, Waters actually used her position as a senior member of Congress and member of the House Financial Services Committee to force Treasury officials to meet with One United Bank, and obviously never disclosing that her husband held stock in the bank. Yet because she is a Democrat and from California, she is still free to run for office and spew her hatred. Yeah, let's listen to her hatred now.
I also lament, as I look back, that there was a time in America's history where you could be denied service in a restaurant based on the color of your skin. Now, apparently, it's the color of your voter registration card. To all my colleagues, particularly those who disagree with my political views, I don't own a restaurant. But if I owned a restaurant in Dallas, I want you to know you would be welcome there, and I'd be proud to be seen with you. If you come to Dallas, I'd be glad to take you to one. You can pick it, Tex-Mex or barbecue, take your pick. And as we eat, please know I would not yield you the moral high ground. I would not lessen my passion for individual liberty and economic opportunity, but I would listen carefully to your views and I would seek common ground with you. And should my supporters be in that restaurant, the only thing I would call on them to do would be to show you respect and to surround you with Texas-friendly hospitality. I yield back the balance of my time. I now recognize the gentlelady from California, Ms. Waters, the ranking member, for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, since Secretary Carson was last before this committee, he has taken actions and issued proposals that are deeply problematic and harmful for vulnerable families and hardworking Americans. He has released an outrageous plan that will triple rents for the lowest income households and put 1.7 million Americans at risk of eviction and homelessness. He's also embraced steep budget cuts to important programs. The Trump administration's latest budget request to Congress would cut HUD's budget by 24% compared to current levels and would eliminate the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnerships Program. I'm also very concerned about the actions Secretary Carson has taken to undermine fair housing in this country. Secretary Carson has stopped the implementation of HUD's affirmatively furthering fair housing rule, which requires that federal agencies and recipients of federal housing funds take proactive steps to affirmatively further fair housing. According to news reports, he has brought a halt to fair housing investigations and enforcement actions. He's even proposed taking the phrase inclusive and sustainable communities free from discrimination out of HUD's mission statement. To address these harmful actions, I've introduced legislation to restore the fair housing protections that Secretary Carson and the Trump administration have eliminated. H.R. 6220, the Restoring Fair Housing Protections Eliminated by HUD Act, of 2018 responds directly to each action that Secretary Carson has taken to undermine fair housing. Congress should not stand by while the agency charged with ensuring fair housing turns its back on its mission and takes actions that roll back critical protections that ensure that all Americans have fair access to housing. So I thank the Secretary for coming today, and I look forward to hearing his testimony on these important issues. And as to the Chairman's comments about civility and about what he would do if he owned a restaurant, let me just say that I think every reasonable person have concluded that the President of the United States of America has advocated violence, he has been divisive, and he has been the one that has caused what we see happening today, where people are trying to push back on his policies and where people are trying to have peaceful protests instead of violence, but he continues to call names and he continues to challenge people in very violent ways. I'll quote to you some of his sayings. In his campaign, I quote, he said, "I'd like to knock the crap out of them." Further, he said, "You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks." And in addition to that, he also talked about the fact that if someone was hurt or while they were being assaulted, as he was encouraging them to do, he said this: "So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them. And would you, seriously?" Trump said, "Okay, just knock the hell out. I promise I will pay for the legal fees. I promise, I promise." So, Mr. Chairman, if you want to talk about civility, you start with the President of the United States and you implore him not to continue to promote violence, not to continue to promote divisiveness, and then I think he would be a better example and people would follow a better example rather than get trapped into what he's advocating, which is pure violence. I yield back the balance of my time.
How dare you separate children from their parents? How dare you pull children out of the arms of their mothers? How dare you lie and say you couldn't do anything about it? You're the one who caused it, and you're the one that we're going to make to turn it back, because what you're doing now is lying, lying, lying. The American people have put up with this president long enough. What more do we need to see? What more lies do we need to hear? It is time for us to say, even though there are those who don't want us to say it, Mr. President, you need to be impeached. He has done more than is needed to be impeached. But putting this on top of all that he has done, his alignment with Russia and Putin, his love of the dictators of the world, how he has not said one word about the fact that they've tapped into our DNC, underlined our democratic process. He's not said one thing about it, but he can wrap his arms around another dictator, Kim Jong-un, and tell us we ought to swallow it. We're through with you, Mr. President. We're not going to swallow it. We're not going to swallow it. You have disrespected all of us. You have violated all of us. And now you have sacrificed our children for your aims and your goals just because you want to build a wall. Mr. President, there will be no wall built on the back of these children. You lied and you said you were going to make Mexico pay for it. They're not going to pay for it. We're not going to pay for it. You're going to find these children. You're going to reconnect them with their families, and we're going to get you out of office. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for coming out here, because history is not going to be kind to this administration. But we want history to record that we stood up, that we pushed back, that we fought, that we did not consider ourselves victims of this president. History will record that while he tried to step on all of us, we kicked him in his rear and we stepped on him. And so the president, who lies all the time, who would change on the drop of a dime. The president is watching what is going on, and the only reason he came up with this fake initiative of his is to try and say to the people that he's seen come out in huge numbers, okay, I'm sorry, I'm scared, I'm gonna back it up, but he didn't back it up enough. He didn't back it up enough because that initiative that he's put out does not define how they're going to connect these children with their parents. They don't know where our children are. They don't have numbers or identifications where they can connect parents, and some parents have been deported and their children are still here somewhere. That's unconscionable. And between this president and that racist Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, and John Kelly, they all said that they were going to do this. They said publicly that they were going to separate these children from their parents in an issue that they've tried to use to get that wall built so they can intimidate all of us. But again, the message has to be, Mr. President, we're not afraid of you. We're not afraid of Jeff Sessions. We're not afraid of John Kelly. We're not afraid of your administration. And while you think you have gotten away with everything that you've done, we are going to show you that you haven't gotten away with anything. We want the children back. We want them connected to their parents. We want it done now. We're going to insist on it. If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.